go. Teams are getting ready. All right, we are finally in pick band. Here we go, guys.
Welcome to the Saturday afternoon elderly scheduled game. Today's matchup we're going to have Barney's Brigade versus Momentum. I mean, what kind of name is Momentum anyway? So
What kind of name indeed.
Let's start talking about the so, if you're curious about the kill bed, I can give you a quick heads up on that. Their top laner, who has been Benaya Lion Honer, an interesting name also. He's got a little over 260 games played on Kale, and his second most played has 20 games. So you can imagine he's probably heavily favored every single matchup involving Kale. So that's going to basically be the target ban. So as the top lane, we get into a couple more standard bans. You have the Lucian ban, of course, considered the strongest AD carry in solo queue. This patch, considered pretty strong in any kind of game type where there's not a lot of team coordination, so you'd expect it to get banned here. You have the Lee Sin and Shen bans. Lee Sin, of course, considered a pretty strong jungler right now. Not necessarily S tier, but may also be a target ban against Trick, their jungler, who has a few Lee Sin games under his belt. That line across the board. The Shen ban, of course, being banned away. That's a very strong split pusher right now, has a lot of pressure. With the double globals, you know that you can basically get around the map almost all the time. You're going to have either the teleport or the ulti up 100% of the time. A lot of map pressure with that Shen pick, so taking that away ensures that your bottom lane, your middle lane are not going to be overpressured for any all-ins they may be trying to do. Seeing the Least ban coming out last, so that's now 2 jungle bans, yet Graves is still going to be on the table.
They're really pinching the jungle pool here. If Graves is still on the table, maybe they're thinking they're kind of daring them to first pick it, and then they're going to take it second rotation if they can't.
The thing is that Graves, for Trick, that's his 6th most played jungler. He's got 5 picks that he'd rather play before that, at least in his previous rank stats this season. So it may not be... Oh, and it looks like there was not a third ban, so I'm assuming this was a penalty maybe for a late sub or something like that. But either way, with no third ban, that's just going to be 2 jungle bans. Graves going to be left open as well. So we have the Caitlyn hover right now. Of course, that's a very strong pick in the bottom lane, especially with Lucian banned. Caitlyn, Lucian considered the 2 strongest laning AD carries right now. Decent scaling. Lucian, of course, with the 1-item power spike, and Caitlyn with that insane range, meaning every item is a huge item spike for her. So Caitlyn's going to be picked up for Barney's Brigade.
That indeed.
And the
we might
hover's
see
coming in now.
Bot lane first rotation actually out of...
Oh no, Caitlyn's going to be picked up for Momentum, sorry.
Wow, a Mumu.
Okay.
Holy moly.
Okay, alright, so
This guy was just buffed this patch, wasn't he?
Yeah, Amumu just got that change to his passive this patch. I believe a couple other minor changes, of course. Runic Echoes has also been pretty popular recently in the jungle. Not a lot of Cinder Hulk junglers that we have seen coming out right now. Even things that have had a resurgence in the jungle like Gragas. We're seeing that Runic Echoes is still being used a majority of the time. So seeing the Amumu come in here with Runic Echoes being a little more popular right now with the passive changes, he might have some decent, depending on the rest of the picks for this composition, he might actually have a decent contribution to the team besides just his ultimate. And of course the Ashe getting locked in again. With the Lucian banned, with the Caitlyn picked, Ashe is considered one of the best ADCs right now. Very versatile, good laning phase, safe, good initiation, just a lot of overall good stuff you're going to want from the bot lane right now. So we see that in return, Graves of course getting picked up. Considered the S tier jungler right now. He's extremely fast clearing, a lot of damage, a decent sustain in the jungle, and a decent amount of tankiness as well with his True Grit. And now we have the Kled and the Zyra locked in. Now, Ashe Zyra, of course, classic duo bot lane that's been around for years, been around for seasons. And this is a lane that's got a lot of CC, got a lot of upfront damage. Of course, that Zyra packing a punch. As soon as she gets a couple items under her belt, she's going to be dealing huge AoE damage. And coupled with the Zyra, coupled with the Amumu with the new passive, we can expect that to be a very explosive gank if it happens in the bottom lane. Now, Kled is a little more interesting.
I'm really surprised that they locked the Kled, and this is going to be an exciting top lane matchup regardless of what gets locked in on the other side.
Yeah, of course, Kled is not something that's been picked up very much in the competitive scene. There's only a handful of top laners that play it. Not really popular in solo queue. It's a different kind of champion. But the biggest takeaway, I would say, having to do with the Kled is that this is a very tanky and versatile frontliner. Because although you build generally damage on the Kled, the way his mechanics work with his gray health on Skarl, he can constantly go into fights, regenerate his Skarl health bar, and then pop out and go back in again. He's very good at reinitiating fights once you think they're done. His ulti is very potent, like a Sivir ulti on steroids. Just a lot of initiation, decent laning phase. And seeing as how that's now going to be up against the Nautilus, that's a decent matchup. That's a matchup that Kled is not necessarily afraid of, especially considering even though Nautilus can stack CC onto the Kled, as soon as that Skarl gets removed, any CC that was on top of him to begin with is cleansed off as well. And so when you see that the rosters have been finished, locked in for the remainder of this champion select in the mid lane, we're going to have the Ahri versus Orianna matchup, very standard. We've seen that a lot this season. Not really favored one way or the other. I do think it is interesting that we're going to have a cleanse on the side of Orianna, but no cleanse on the side of Ahri. So with Ashe, with Zyra, with Mumu, that's a lot of hard CC that Ahri is going to have to try and avoid if she wants to stay alive in these fights.
Yeah, in fact, it looks like every member of Barney's Brigade here has some form of hard crowd control, be it the Orianna Shockwave, the Kled, knockback with the ultimate as well. There's going to be a pretty tough ask for any member on the side of Momentum to remain uncrowd controlled. So that it looks like the makings of pretty explosive team fights, honestly.
And something we also do need to keep in mind is the initiation that's possible from both sides. We have Nautilus, Kled, Thresh, Zyra, Ashe, Amumu. That's a lot of crowd control. That's a lot of variance in the way you can initiate these team fights. Some pick potential, some AoE. Overall, these are fights where you can be sure that every single team fight is going to be started because somebody got caught. There's not going to be some wishy-washy wave clearing, some Baron dances. There's going to be some fights. There's going to be somebody hit by something. And it's going to be explosive when that does happen. There's going to be a lot of AoE. We have the Graves, the Ahri, of course the Hurricane on the Caitlyn, the Hurricane on the Ashe, the Amumu, the Orianna. There's just so much AoE, so much pick potential that I'm thinking this is going to be a very bloody matchup.
That's what it looks like to me as well. We'll get into the game not 2 minutes from now, but I think one thing that is interesting to note is that between Kled and Amumu, you kind of have more tankiness than just Nautilus and Thresh, since they have more gold from farming and such. So that'll be interesting to see who actually wins out in the, overall, which team, depending on positioning. Kled usually wants to flank as opposed to frontline, whereas Amumu can kind of take that role, so maybe we'll have to see exactly how these team fights are set up. We've seen Ashe Caitlyn 3 times now in our every game, actually. Every game we've cast, we've seen Ashe Caitlyn.
It's generally been a very popular bot lane matchup right now. Of course, neither the Lulu or the Karma has actually been picked up this time, though, which tend to be the popular support coupled with those ADCs. But I do also want to talk about the fact that Momentum, their front line is just not necessarily as versatile as Barney's Brigade, because you have the Kled and the Amumu. If they're left up on their own, if they're left with a carry, they're going to wind up killing that carry. The Amumu damage is pretty strong with that Runic Echoes alone. Of course, Kled with both Titanic and Blade of the Ruin King, typically that's a lot of damage, upfront damage, armor penetration, HP damage, and the biggest thing also is that front line is going to be coupled with an Orianna Ball, and that adds extra potency to the overall damage, the overall threat to the backline of Momentum, because they're going to have to constantly keep in mind, not only will we have this Amumu, this Kled rushing in, right, getting up in our face, there might be an Orianna ball on top of one of them. And if that Orianna ball is coming for them and they're not prepared for it, that's going to be an easy assassination 100-0. So that's something that also needs to be kept in mind on the side of Momentum.
That will indeed have to be the case here. Spectator delay is just about over. We're going to get onto the Rift in just a few moments here. And we'll have to see which team has what it takes to get this early momentum and grab a win in this.
Did you change the stream title, by the way?
I did not.
Can you change the stream title?
I cannot.
Okay, so who do we get to change
I
the
did
stream
mention
title?
that in the staff Discord already, so.
Okay, we'll get it.
Oops, wrong one. Hee hee. This is why you don't let me do this.
Oh boy. How come they don't just give us editor rights?
I'm not sure.
Make it a lot more simple.
It definitely would.
So we're going to be getting into the game in a moment here. We can look at the masteries. Pretty standard across the board. We see that Nautilus has opted for Courage of the Colossus, which of course is the less lane-centric mastery, and instead used more for later game team fights. It scales much better than the Grasp of the Undying does. It's got a little less sustain, but the trades are still good, especially when you're getting ganked early on in the game. That Courage of the Colossus tends to help you a little bit more, and we can fully expect that Amumu might want to get this Kled rolling in the early game, because Kled, like other matchups for Nautilus, can start to get pretty oppressive at around that one item power spike if he's ahead, similar to perhaps a Renekton, something like that. We see that the Storm Raiders has been picked up for Graves, which I mentioned yesterday as a stylistic choice. Most Graves still tend to go for the Thunderlords, of course, for that extra little burst of damage, but some also opt for the Storm Raiders. It provides a little bit more survivability, it helps you escape tough spots, and you tend to proc it pretty often because of the amount of burst of damage you have up front. We have Courage of the Colossus for Amumu, pretty standard. You could say that if you were going for a more damage-oriented build, you could go for the Thunderlords instead perhaps, but this Courage is basically guaranteed to get procced every time he comes for a gank in lane. We have Thunderlords for the mid lane, the Warlords versus Fervor in the bottom lane, Caitlyn and Nash. Of course, Caitlyn having an inherent advantage in the 1v1 because of this early on in the game, getting a little bit of sustain, making sure she can survive that lane a little bit longer than Ashe typically would. But that Zyra, depending on how much damage she manages to deal in the early game, may kind of shift that back in the Ashe's favor.
We'll have to see how these masteries impact the early skirmishes. We already saw some pretty significant early vision coming out on the red side of Barney's jungle here, Barney Brigade's jungle. Pio Trick and All Snow being fairly confident that there wasn't a 5-man stack and that Amumu wouldn't be starting Bandage Toss.
Minions have spawned.
I'm interested to see what these first jungle clears are going to be as well. We see here that there's opposing sides for the junglers. Both sides are going to be starting their blue side buff. Of course, Amumu's going to be getting a little bit of a healthier leash because he's getting a leash from both the Zyra and the Ashe at the same time. That's going to be a little bit of extra damage, making sure the Amumu can clear pretty quickly, maybe even be on par for the first couple camps with the Graves. Nautilus on the other side is going to be a little late to lane, going to be a little more exposed to the early pressure from this Kled as he walks into the lane from the river. So
Didn't
now we're going
seem
to
to take much
have
damage from the camp either, or use mana. So, you know, he might have just been taking a little bit. He might not have actually been leashing. This might be going through Lion Power's head here. So may not actually know where the Graves started. They did leave a red ward on the red buff though, and that will spot out the Graves.
Oh yeah, and we can see Amumu walking right up to that red buff. Uh-oh, we might have a collapse coming in here in the early game. Orianna looking to motion up as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of mid priority in favor of Momentum right now, given the position of the wave, so it doesn't look like too much is going to occur as a result of that. It looks like the he will be successful in taking the buff, but he's having his time wasted, having it leash back like that. And, you know, constantly wondering, are they coming? Are they not coming? So
Wow.
I'm surprised.
Brave still managed to steal away.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't stop him there. Maybe they thought he might have walked away or something, but
Yeah, they believed he wouldn't fully commit to the red buff steal, and Amumu just had that stolen right under his nose. That's interesting. Uh-oh, we have a gank here in the top lane.
we do. Ooh, the hook is even good as well. Scarl coming off of Lion Power, not using any summoners, but doesn't have any potions. Is only going to have the sustain of the Doran's Blade there if he wants to stay in lane. And I think he needs to call for pressure from Revan on the Amumu if he's going to survive this tower push from Nautilus.
Something we also need to keep in mind, you said something about Amumu pressuring topside. He decided to opt for those golem buffs during this entire exchange. Those golems take forever to clear as a normal jungler anyway, and considering Amumu specializes a little more in AoE, which is not much of a problem when clearing the golem camps, it took him a decent bit just to get done with that, so I'd say he's definitely a decent bit behind the Graves now, despite the CS difference.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, like, you know that he took Raptors and he took the Krugs, so both of those have a lot of actual CS, but there's no gold advantage, really, and there's certainly no tempo advantage in favor of Revan, just because all Piotric's done is take his Wolves, his Blue, his Gromp, and then the red buff.
So we see right now that, as I mentioned before, the Zyra is a huge factor in this early laning phase. Uh-oh. Is this an all-in the top?
I think so. He's not going to have Scarl for the rest of the fight, but Lion Power is going to be able to chunk out Raven's men. Getting that pressure by himself, that I think is a bit of a misplay from Raven. I think maybe he should have been able to hold on to that wave control a little bit better, but he's playing with fire now. He might be forced to flash away. No? Instead, just using the last bit of his mana on the Titan's Wrath. Now, in the mid lane, Piotric fancies himself a gank onto Orianna, but just going to force her out of lane a little bit, get some tempo advantage, throw the smoke screen. You know, make her life a little miserable. Attracting the attention of Revan right now, however, so that will deter him from any further action. Revan does not show on the map just yet. He's hanging back, but not really much setup you can do onto an Ahri when she's that far down the lane.
So we can see now that there's already an 11 CS lead for this Ashe. That's 2 full creep waves almost. This is, as I said, the Zyra being a huge factor early on in the game. Depending on how much pressure this Zyra can exert on this lane and how aggressive this Thresh is willing to be in return, Caitlyn might actually find herself being out-bullied. She actually can't sustain on the plants. Remember, that was a change a little while back. You can no longer lifesteal on those plants. And of course, the Warlord's not giving a lot of sustain early on means that she won't actually be able to just heal through just Zyra's poke alone. Uh-oh, all in mid.
There is an all in mid. The charm is good. The cleanse is a little late, forcing out the flash with the ignite from Ahri. That means that Amazing Wing Wang is a little bit lower. Ooh, such a close first blood. I think he's going to die to minions there. He blows his flash. Lion Power going down on the opposite end of that map there in the top side, but I think the wave is in a better position for him. I think he wins out, especially since Nautilus does not have a teleport to get back to lane fast enough.
Yeah, with Kled getting the first blood as well, I would definitely say that Kled feels pretty good about that trade. He's going to be missing a little bit of that experience because he's going to respawn a little later than he'd like to, but overall, I'd say that's a pretty positive trade for him. Nautilus definitely still having the CS advantage, though, so be interesting to see how this lane continues to develop if there's no more jungle pressure on the top side.
Well, he has a CS advantage right now, but Kled, off of the back of the first blood and the little gold that he had managed to farm up there, just purchased a Tiamat for his second back, I guess. He did pick up 2 longswords there early on. So he's already got the wave clear advantage now, even through the Nautilus Riptide with the Doran's Ring. So this is definitely going to be a Nautilus who's going to be shoved under tower quite a bit, and you know, depending on how that lane goes, we may see more action from Graves coming top like he did in the first couple minutes after the red buff steal.
And this is also something I want to talk about, something I didn't actually mention at level 1, but Kled opted for the Doran's Blade start. Now this is something that I don't see a lot of Kleds actually do, especially the higher elo Kleds. I see most of them tend to opt for the longsword pots. Uh-oh, here's the gang top lane.
Yeah, the hook is good onto him. That's the dredge line connecting. He's just going to use charge to safety. Much like Scion screaming cowards while running far away.
Well, he's a redneck, so everything he says actually means the opposite.
Okay.
But most Kleds I see opt for the longsword 3 pots, and especially in situations like these where it's entirely... Uh-oh. What's going on here? Another trade in the top lane. Scarl's gonna go down.
Nothing much to be seen here. I don't think this will lead to a kill, but they're intending on keeping it up. Remember how fast Kled gets his Scarl back, his passive back, after the trades like that. He will be relatively low and won't have any more potions. Graves sneaking around there. Might get a little overconfident. Ooh, but Scarl lets him dodge out the collateral damage, and now he's going to escape while forcing the flash from both the top laner and Plotrix's Graves. I think he's still down there. There's the smoke screen. The worst way to die to a Graves is getting a smoke canister on the top of your head. And that means that there will be pressure. But he forced 2 flashes and the attention of the Graves. We'll have to see what Amumu can get on the bottom side of the map for Barney's Brigade as a result of that.
This is Amumu is actually completely out of mana and half HP trying to clear these golems on the other side instead of potentially going for this dive in the bottom lane. But this is what I want to talk about. That Doran's Blade start for the Kled ensures he's only going to have 1 HP pot in the lane. And he doesn't necessarily have a lot of innate sustain. Of course, he has technically HP regen with regaining Scarl when he loses her, but other than that, there's not a lot of sustain you're going to get early on in this lane, and so having only 1 HP pot versus the corrupting potion on the Nautilus means that any bad trades you wind up taking means you're going to get out-sustained real fast.
Yeah, that is true, and he's not coming back with any potions either, ostensibly just saving up for a later buy, perhaps. Maybe he didn't have enough gold to get a longsword or whatever he might be looking for next. But depending on whether or not he goes for the Ravenous Hydra, he may not have much sustain at all. And now we're going to get to the point where I think Nautilus can equalize out the damage between the Corrupting Potion and the several armor stacks that he's got. And Graves did so much damage to that top tower too. Like,
yeah, that is dangerously low going down. Here's what I'm talking about. These are these bad trades that Kled's willing to take.
No, I think this one's okay. He's going to have his ultimate back very soon. And there's the bear trap. That's going to be a good solo kill there. Amumu was topside for support. Spotted out by a couple wards now, but that will be enough to... actually in the mid lane at the same time, Amazing Wing Wang was pushed out of lane. Didn't have to flash or cleanse, but managed to escape with just a little bit of health. Ari did not use Ignite there, so it may have been an oversight on her part.
I like the original idea that Nautilus had, taking those trades, right? He has a lot more sustain than the Kled does. So, of course, you take these trades where both of you go extremely low, then you usually wind up winning them in the long run in your favor. But,
that was an overconfident walk forward from Daythex, and he is going to go down to the Zyra plant after the flash. That's a feels bad man right there. He was trying to go for that headshot proc, I think. He wound up stutter stepping himself into a lockdown. Grasping Roots coming out of Sido Derek. Big plays from Sido Derek.
But Nautilus just can't take trades under tower as well. He took 2 tower shots right before that all-in even happened. That's the kind of stuff where it doesn't matter how many pots you have over your opponent, you're just not going to win that trade early on.
Yeah, if you don't have enough time to actually drink the potions, they're not very effective. Losing Scarl in the top lane here is Lion Power, trying to take some more trades here, but the depth charge is going to knock him up. This top lane is such a back and forth. 3 deaths now for the Kled, 2 for the Nautilus.
The only reason this top lane is back and forth is I don't think either of these players really knows the limits of their champion. They keep going way too over-aggressive in these trades, hoping that they're the one that come out better for it. Oh, and that's the first turret going down.
That's why it's so critical that Lion Power doesn't die there, too, is because of all the damage that Graves gotten onto the tower. Graves actually made a visit mid after that pressure onto Wing Wang there and chunked that tower very low as well. Daythex not using the net here, is going to get stunned up. Grasping Roots as well. Ignite is on. Lil Stevie will flash forward, but in the mid lane, amazing Wing Wang trying to flash away from all of this damage. Collateral damage coming out as well from Plot Trick to chunk her very low, but the Orianna will survive using both summoners. Just an ultimate and a charm out of All Snow for all of that pressure. And now Amumu's going to have to stick around a little bit probably to stop this impending assault. But they made Momentum may just actually go for a Cloud Drake here.
They certainly have the priority for it because with Kled still in the top lane in that long lane... Uh-oh, gank in the bottom lane now.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about the Drake right now. Lil Stevie's dropped very low. Even the finished Blade of the Ruin King is not going to help her there. Has no flash, didn't even bother using heal. But on the flip side, in the mid lane, a good shockwave from Amazing Wing Wang reverses an aggressive trade. All Snow goes down as well. They'll trade mid lane for top lane, or mid lane for bottom lane, and now Nautilus will be teleporting up top as well to stop the push. So they actually lose a lot of map control on the side of Momentum.
Yeah, that's actually a very important mistake that All Snow just made. He knows that the rest of his team is making a play in the bottom lane. He knows that they're setting up for the dragon right now. They want to establish vision control. All she has to do is clear the mid wave and back off. Instead, she sees, uh-oh, now we got to dive in the bottom.
Plottrick's really going very aggressive, but does manage to get the kill there. I think a net into a headshot was what sealed the deal for Daythex. And that means that there's going to be pressure bottom side. I don't think Lil Stevie on this Ashe can realistically stop this push if they really wanted to go for it on the side of Momentum. Lion Power is going to be using Charge here to connect onto Nautilus, but he will manage to escape with the Dredge line. Well timed by him.
So I was right. This is definitely a very bloody game. This might be another kill coming in.
Yeah, just a solo kill coming up from Lil Stevie, and then a flash bandage toss from Revan to secure a second. That's a double kill for the Ashe. And on the backside, man. Amazing Wing Wang is going to pick up another kill for her team. The Orianna silencing the Graves there in the middle lane. Is going to dodge out on the Charm. All Snow taking a little bit low, but returning some damage on the Wing Wang. I think now the ball's in Barney Brigade's court.
Yeah, and one fell swoop, Momentum manages to get 3 of their members dead, and here comes a solo kill maybe in the 4th?
We may see one. I think it's not going to be coming
out.
Ooh, it is, actually. I thought Sido Derek was going to get a piece of that.
Momentum's getting killed across the map. They're basically going all kinds of pressure. Now mid lane's going to be shoving in, bottom lane's going to be shoving in. Kled just finished shoving in the top lane. That's almost guaranteed to be another tower going down.
That is indeed, and then I think both teams sort of reset around this Cloud Drake next, most likely. Pings for assistance coming from it, but there is a TP available for Lion Power. His charge is not available, but he can come in for a flank here if they want to fight. And they have shown a propensity for fighting. If nothing else this game, both of these teams have shown that they really do enjoy fighting.
Both of these teams definitely playing a little more aggressive than I would have thought early on in the game, but that's going to be a flash burn.
Yeah, he's going to have to be forced to flash there. Good crowd control chain coming up from Revan and Sido Derek there to make him feel a little unsafe. He was separated from his team. Will miss the Dredge line, but that will put him in a good spot to flank Sido Derek, who flashes out after putting the Stranglethorns down. Lion Power coming in on a teleport here. Traps there to stop any further aggression. Revan is isolated. He will go down after throwing down the Curse of the Sad Mummy. That should be Cloud Drake for Momentum after that little haphazard engage there. I think Kled even canceled his teleport. Yeah, it looks like he did.
Yeah, I do want to point out, Kled did cancel that teleport when he had Skarl available. He was just not willing to go into that. The rest of the team was not in position, and instead they concede a kill in a Cloud Drake.
Yeah, the rest of the team wasn't really able to back Revan Theus up on the Mumu. Sido Derek had just flashed out after using Stranglethorns as well, so I guess they could have maybe done something with the Orianna ultimate if she were in position, or if a chance long-range Ashe Arrow had connected, but now we got an engage coming in the bottom side, just completely eviscerating Sido Derek there as he flashes the level 4 mastery. At least he's showing some good humor there, but Plotrick is no laughing man here on this Graves. He shoves the collateral damage right in. A trap on Wing Wang there, almost set up for a
nice
really good sidestep. Actually uses the cleanse anyways, but didn't really wind up needing it. Charge coming in as well. Revan Theus and Lion Power have arrived. They clean up 2 quick kills onto the jungler in support of Momentum, and now their world is their oyster here. What do they take? Do they go for the Rift Herald? Do they go for a mid lane push? Reventheus is just going for the Nautilus here, but I don't know that it will lead to anything concrete. Chilling Smite coming out, but the Bear Trap goes wide. And on the backside of that, there was some Momentum's mid laner and AD carry were able to wave clear against this mid turret, so nothing too grand lost there, just 2 kills. And no ultimates available right now for red side, so I don't think they can really continue this push.
Momentum needs to be very careful with their next move here. Right now, they're being pushed against the tower. They only have 4 of their members. Graves is walking up now. Uh-oh, there's the hook being landed.
It's on to Wingwang, who does not have his cleanse up. Nautilus will secure that kill immediately. A very good trap on top of that to stop Lion Power from doing anything in this fight. He will go down to the Graves on the backside. Actually, the Ahri will auto-attack for the kill. Good charm from Ahri as well. Fizzy will flash forward with the Flay to finalize the kill on the Lil Stevie there. And on the backside, Sido Derek will go down to the Graves. That means the mid tower is for Momentum. And you said they needed to be careful. It looks like they threw caution to the wind there, and it just wound up working out for them as Reventheus goes back in for another bandage toss. May have been a little aggressive there, a little hopeful, but he's able to flash out and escape. The Caitlyn ultimate will come in. Ace in the hole, but he'll actually pick up 2 kills on the back of that as Alsno's teammate scumbagged him by stepping in front of him while he was taking tower aggro. That was a little rough. That's a 2-for-1 trade, equalizes it a little bit.
I'm honestly not sure what I'm watching right now. Both teams have accelerated this game to all hell. 18 minutes in, and we've got 25 kills already. We've got 2 towers down for both sides. There's a huge wave right now in the bottom lane, and nobody's going to be picking it up besides the lowly Thresh. That's not the kind of wave management you really want to be dealing with. On the other side, we see that Graves has stolen away the red buff. Looks like he's not going to be punished for that.
Yeah, he's going back to his roots, you know, where it all began, the red buff steal.
Right. So let's talk about what we currently have in the form of vision control. Oh, wow. Is that a mid-tower take?
I think it is. Lil Stevie just man-moding it up and taking the rest of that tower, just left to her own devices on that.
Yeah, Momentum, despite their ability to claw back into this game, get the gold almost equalized with a couple aggressive plays, at the same time, a little iffy on their wave management.
Oh, the arrow goes wide. So does the dredge
catches.
line, thankfully. It looks like whiffs are a contagious right now.
Yeah, but, that's just the way they've been handling these waves. They gave up a mid tower for free when they had multiple people alive and in the area. They gave up basically a wave and a half of farm on the bottom lane. This is interesting rotations. Now they're just kind of playing ARAM right now. Nautilus is pushing up. He's got the TP available. There's even a good TP ward a little bit further ahead in the lane, but I don't know if he's willing to go for that kind of play. Cled's pushing the top lane right now. They need to decide what they want to do next, because right now they're just getting sieged in the mid lane.
They are indeed. The Caitlyn will hold off the siege for now as Nautilus pushes down a turret in the bottom lane. Really, the ball is in Momentum's court right now. They can use their Nautilus TP to either the Raptor board, but Plotrek actually wound up going a little too aggressive here. The teleport is going to be used on the tower as Plotrek will dodge out from that damage. It looks like Lion Power is very in the wrong spot here. In a very unfortunate spot. We'll check down Alsna pretty consistently there, and on the backside of that, Reventheus going down to Raven's Man, taking up too many tower hits with all the crowd control that Nautilus can offer. Depth charge still available, crucially. They may try to go for a Baron here. That is relatively early, but their Nautilus is incredibly healthy.
And Barney's Brigade just went a little too aggressive. Once they get that teleport out, once they get that flash out from the Graves, they don't need to keep going. They got what they wanted. Nautilus is definitely going to stop pushing. They can start pressuring 2 lanes. They don't need to keep diving. They know the rest of the team's in the mid lane waiting to come and help.
Yeah, in fact, Kled flashing towards them even. Not what they were really looking for. Hook goes wide, but the charm connects. Will they continue? They throws him a lantern. That's nice of Fizzy. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Amazing Wingwang gonna try and cleanse out of that situation. A charge coming down in the mid lane. Good arrow. Forcing a flash out of Daythex as well. Fizzy will be the sacrificial lamb here as the shockwave used to keep Wingwang alive in the top side. Lots of action there, but only resulting in 1 kill. Although
And
Orianna
I
actually had to use both of her summoners to get away from that beefy tank that is Ravens, man.
All this game has been so far has just been constant skirmishing, constant fighting, and just over-aggression and overextension. These are just plays that are not really made with much forethought. They just kind of do them and hope they can brute force it. So, as things stand right now, I would definitely say that the longer this game goes, the better a shot Momentum has to come back into this game. They have some very good late-game scaling, but again, this all depends on just how these team fights play out, because right now, with Barney's Brigade, they've got a lot of different tools to continue to force these fights, to continue to force these engages, these skirmishes, these trades. And that's exactly what they want to keep doing if they want to stay in control of this game.
Yeah, the gold is relatively even here, just 500 in favor
I
of
find
Momentum.
unbelievable.
But the thing about this is, as the kills are even, the gold is even, the towers are even, it's where the gold is allocated that's really the big differential here. Nautilus has been able to get 2 items, Pled's only sitting on 1.5, almost getting that Black Cleaver completed. The mid lane is a bit of a disparity. Actually, it looks like they're relatively even, but Orianna just hasn't been able to position herself for really good at shockwaves this game for team fights. The Amumu's actually gone a puzzling build where you go Cinderhulk for health scaling and then build an item like Frozen Heart that actually doesn't have any additional health in it, which is a little bizarre, but eventually he will get tanky enough to survive some of these fights. Lil Stevie actually getting hooked up there. Ravensman is able to do stuff like that just based on how tanky he is as well. He can just walk up and hook you just to test your nerves a little bit.
I just like to point out that little trade we saw there in the mid lane. Ash autoed Nautilus 2 or 3 times. I didn't see anything move.
No, he
That
had
was...
between the lantern and the...
Oh, engage.
Yes. There is going to be an attempted engage. It looks like Charge has decided to go on all snow, but the Ash Arrow will miss, as well as the Bear Trap missing as well. They do force out Ahri's Spirit Rush, and that is kind of a crucial part of their team fight, but Lil Stevie is going to be caught up by Ravensman, who is able to flank around. This team fight's already getting crazy. All snow going down at the beginning of the fight. Ravensman tanking up for so long on the back line here, keeping the damage dealers from Momentum.
Oh, nice shockwave.
A good shockwave to net up 2 players there, Daythix and Plotrick, not able to contribute to this fight any longer. Busy hopping the wall with the plant, but Plotrick now slowed down by Lil Stevie, who will not proceed to walk right into that death sentence. So it was a 1-for-1 at the end of the day, if you can believe it.
But how explosive that was, but that was a lot of summoners burn. We have the flash burned on the Amumu, the flash burned on the Ash, flash on the Ahri, the Thresh. So for this next fight, if it's just explosive as the last, we can expect to see definitely a lot more casualties for both sides.
Definitely. And you'll just want to be on the winning side of that engagement, regardless of which team you're on. Realistically, I think that with Ahri being down 1 item completed currently, not having I guess it looks like rushing Abyssal, which will make Nautilus deal some more damage for sure. Not that he necessarily needs it at this point, being able to brute force and tank for quite a while. But
and we're also starting to see a little bit of the consequences for the summoner spell usage and summoner spell choice for this Ahri. Remember, we talked about the Ignite instead of the Cleanse, even though she's against a lot of CC. And we see that now coming to fruition. Now, this is coming to the point where that Ignite is starting to become a lot less of a deal. The Ignite was more for lane pressure, for getting early kills in the Orianna, and now that that didn't pan out, not having the Cleanse or the Exhaust instead means he's a lot more vulnerable once she gets caught.
I mean, it's pretty safe to say at this point that Orianna objectively did win lane versus this Ahri. Not necessarily in terms of kill pressure, turret pressure, but just looking at the KDA, looking at the farm differential, there's a reason why Orianna's ahead in items and built the Luden's Echo. Even if, you know, a Leandri's or some other item might have been a better second item buy, there's a reason why she's sitting on 2 items. However, Momentum has a tempo advantage here in this bottom lane. Just minions were able to take out the inner mid turret, and then they just rotated as 5 to take out this bottom inner turret as well. There's going to be an engage coming out from Scarl, who's tanky enough for now, but not for very long. Stranglethorn on no members right now. Shockwave on no members. And now Lion Power is going to go down to Piotrix. Collateral damage. A flash out from, I believe, the Ashers, or no, Sido Derek flashing up, but a very good Curse of the Sad Mummy locks up all 5 members there. Reventhea staying alive for so long on the back half of that fight, and now only AllSnow is still alive for Momentum. They had such a good team fight at the beginning, but it just didn't wind up going out. Wing Wang trying for an aggressive flash play. A little bit of egg on face is all that he gets there, but the carries of Red Team are still alive and kicking for now.
And that initially looked like a really bad... Okay. That looked like
there you go.
Both mid laners getting a little greedy there at the end. That looked initially like a really bad fight for Barney's Brigade. Of course, Kled getting in really, really early. The missed Shockwave hitting literally nobody, but they held on to a couple of ultis for a little bit longer than that, and the Stranglethorn's missing as well. But the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Curse of the Sad Mummy, both of those things still available, ready to go, and just when Momentum went a little too far into the corridor trying to pick up the last few kills, they found themselves with a face full of CC still available. And that wound up getting turned around. You had the Hurricane, the Blade of the Ruin King completed for the Ashe, so that's a lot of AoE damage. The Zyro was still alive. The Orianna obviously still alive to deal damage with the QW. Despite missing the Shockwave, there's still a lot of AoE damage left available, and that's something that Momentum basically needs to watch out for. Like I pointed out in Champion Select, there's a lot of AoE in this composition, so just because you missed 1 or 2 of the parts of the Wombo does not mean you're safe.
Indeed. Yeah, I think they thought they were just going to walk away with the Amumu kill, but his Courage of the Colossus may have been up or something to allow him to stay alive after stunning up everybody with the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Now with all the ultimates off of cooldown, they may be baiting Baron here. It looks like they're sort of not sure whether or not they want to start it, but Sido Derek going to get CC'd up by Ravensman there. Dropped already to half. Redemption coming out to keep Ravensman alive. Sido Derek dropped so low. The flash coming out to finalize the kill, but on the backside of that fight, Reventhea has gotten a double kill, and a long-range cross-lane Ashe Arrow will secure Dathex as well. That's a 4-4-1. And now Kled is teleporting to the bottom lane to get some pressure.
Like I said, you see the Kled diving in, you see the... Uh-oh. Is this a solo kill? No, missed ulti.
Sidesteps coming out from Orianna. The cleanse is not going to help her out very much there. Piotrix trying for this kill as the Black Cleaver completed. Misses the end of the line, but has a significant amount of chase potential. Little Stevie actually just going to flash forward there, use the heal and everything. The smite not enough to keep him alive. A little aggressive. I was surprised to see that coming out of the Ashe when she's so immobile without those summoners, but on the back half of that fight, the Amumu and the Kled were able to clean up 2 turrets before the respawns came.
And that was an interesting decision to go around and help out the Orianna instead of... Oh, that's a missed QW on the Dragon. Go around and help the Orianna instead of pressuring the mid wave as well. There's a pretty big mid wave there. Might have been able to take the tier 2 in the mid as well, or walk down with the fellow teammates. Maybe even take the inhib. Instead, I'm going to see now if that Ashe is going to regret burning both of her summoners right before the next team fight.
Well, she might regret it right now. She's going heavy onto AllSnow. She knows that as soon as that Spirit Rush comes in, unless she can dissuade the Ahri from going ham, she will die. There's the flash forward from AllSnow, but Lil Stevie getting dangerous game to keep her alive in that fight. Now she'll go down to 1 auto from Nautilus, but it was a very good trade there. No summoners on the Ashe to burn, but AllSnow actually failing to get that solo kill. Not using the Ignite at any stage of this game, really.
Yeah, and what's worse about taking Ignite in this late game is not even using it. That's, again, another death where it could have just been a solo kill if you were just willing to Ignite a little bit earlier.
Or at all.
Yeah, that's... Again, these are some mechanical misplays, things that can definitely be corrected, things that don't necessarily need to happen, but you can expect to see them pretty often apparently in this game with just how much skirmishing is going on, how many misplays seem to be happening, minor errors that may shift the game in one team's favor.
Yeah, Ahri and Nautilus both heading down to that bottom side of the map where the huge minion wave is accrued. pushing on Momentum's inhibitor. The same thing was going on in mid lane in favor of Momentum, but Barney's Brigade winding up clearing that out very quickly. They know they have vision of where Nautilus is, where Ahri was. They may attempt a quick Baron here where there is no vision for Momentum. Barney's Brigade on this Baron right now. And Graves is recalling. I don't think they know this is happening.
Yeah, there's not any vision control in the river. They have no idea. Despite not having mid priority, they're still being able to take this because the wards are just not deep enough to see this going.
Indeed. They didn't have... Well, actually, it looks like Ahri and Caitlyn both had their Farsight trinket available. They just neither of them used it. Maybe they weren't in range, or I think Caitlyn was, but again, not even considering that it could be happening. You see the Zyra clearing out wards. Maybe you don't think it's happening, but it was.
And that's the problem with the vision control this game. When you have all that vision established in one specific area, but it's just not deep enough to actually see anything, all it tells you is that, okay, we haven't lost the territory we have here. But it tells you nothing about what's going on, just a few units forward. And just putting 4 or 5 wards inside of your blue side jungle is going to mean nothing if they can just take everything around it instead.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Barney's Brigade did. Now, armed with this Baron, they've sent their Kled, whose teleport is up shortly in the next couple of seconds, to split push in the bottom lane where there is a naked inhibitor. Stakes are very high at this stage of the game, 33.5 minutes in. Death timers are rising. And with Baron minions pressing down, Daythex will actually be going down there. Piotrick managing to QSS the Ash Arrow, but was stunned up for a significant amount of time regardless. Looks like he actually QSS the Shockwave instead.
Yeah,
very good.
He did not actually QSS anything. He still got the stun from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Right, yeah. He wasn't exactly... He's not going down yet. Redemption puzzlingly placed on the minion wave instead of on the carries, trying to keep them alive. Stranglethorn's coming out will make these plants do a little bit more damage. Reventheus is not who you want to hook, Fizzy. He's going to go down immediately to the Ash. Piotrick now is enraged with the Maw of Malmortius. No, just the Hexdrinker, actually.
This might be the game.
Trying to keep himself up. Yeah, the stakes are incredibly high right now. 2 inhibitors going down, middle and bottom. Momentum's base is getting pushed in by these Baron-empowered minions, and Daythex only now respawning. They have no support. They have to make a play now. Amazing Wing Wang will be stunned up. That's a 4-man knockup from Ravensman's depth charge. That might be what they need to win the fight. Ravensman goes down on the opposite end. Kled reviving off of the Guardian Angel. No, that's not enough. Triple kill coming up for the Ash. That is going to be game 1. Going over in favor of Barney's Brigade. 5 members pushing down onto this Nexus as they clean ace inside their base. 1-0 up in this series.
That was a lot of fighting. Very bloody. The game was typically pretty even, maybe 3,000 gold in one side's favor of the other for a huge majority of that game. And that's just another case of kills being shifted around, bad plays, where everyone is holding on to summoners, holding on to abilities, not willing to use what they need to survive. Caitlyn wound up dying her last 3 deaths with both flash and heal up, all 3 times. Ahri, we saw in the top lane, went down without using her ignite, let Ashe barely live until Nautilus managed to pick up that kill. Managed to not ignite the Orianna in the mid lane, instead falling for the QW, dying. These are just minor mistakes, minor misplays, holding on to things, getting a little greedy, overextending, just very minor things, but they start to stack up very quickly, and next thing you know, your Nexus is gone.
At least we're back to basic here with game lobby being full. Alright, never mind, I'm back. Yeah, that was a very explosive game 1, though. This just constant fighting from like the 5-minute point in the game. A crazy amount of stuff going on in that match, and that has a psychological effect when you fight for like 40 minutes and then you lose. We'll have to see if Momentum can bounce back or if this is just going to be a clean 2-0. It wasn't really a clean game, but that might have been what Barney's Brigade needed to sort of warm up and get acclimatized, and now they're preparing to take it to Momentum again in game 2, this time from the blue side. We'll have to see how their ban phase adjusts.
And like I said in Champion Select, just looking off of the champions, looking at the kits, the synergy, if there's going to be constant fighting. Of course, Barney's Brigade is going to be heavily favored in that. They've got so much AoE, so much CC, so much damage that they can consistently pull out, and they don't need the scaling for it. They need 1 item, 2 items on the Orianna. They need just the 1 item, really, on the Ashe with the Blade of the Ruin King. They don't even need items on the Zyra or the Amumu. And just this AoE damage, as soon as they got into those skirmishes, it was done.
Indeed it was. What's not done, however, is the series, and it looks like we're already pretty close to getting into the Champion Select 4 Game 2. In fact, we are here. So let's get the music started, huh?